Hello and welcome to Building a Business podcast. This is the show where we embark on an adventure with entrepreneurs across various industries, picking their brains and hearts on what it's like starting, building, maintaining, and growing a small business. Building a Business podcast is brought to you by Virtual Fellas Marketing, rehumanizing your marketing experience. My name is Sean. This week, we are back with Raymond from Athletes for Athletes, AFA. Hi Raymond, how are you doing?
Hi, good. Nice to meeting you again.
So just as a catch up, how have you been doing the past month with business and all that? Especially now that I guess you guys can operate again, right? It's CMC or not?
Previously, I think during our first podcast, most of our operations still basically are not able to operate at 100%. So during this month, we have been really busy reactivating a lot of our venue operator partners. So getting them back on track have been something that we have been really busy about for the whole throughout the whole month. Yeah.
Okay. As in some of them are not ready to start up again, or what? What's the issue?
Because previously a lot of operators are not allowed to operate, and because one thing is this pandemic is still very new to the operators and also the government. So when the biggest challenge is like in MKN, right? They have been setting a lot of different SOPs, but most of them are leaving the operators in gray area. For instance, they said non-contact sports are allowed to operate. But how do you consider a sport as non-contact, right? So then people started to ask like, okay, for badminton, for instance, basically singles are not contact, but doubles basically also you don't interact with your opponents and your partners also, right? But to that extent, when people started questioning, then MKN will have to come up with a separate statement saying doubles are not allowed, only singles allowed. Similar things goes to different other sports. I guess it's then again because it's very new to us. So a lot of these rules and regulations have been revising and keep revising.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of a confusion, but we do see improvements done by both ends.
Yeah. So does it mean that you guys were actually like approaching MKN on behalf of your operators to set or to clarify the?
You can say that, but we don't directly talk to MKN in that sense. But what we do is basically we help the operators to keep an eye on the latest SOP. And of course, to a certain extent, let's say if there's any confusion, we'll be calling up MKN. But then again, when it comes to, I try not to get too political in this, but to a certain extent, whatever SOP that is set by MKN have their own interpretation, but the local governments have their own interpretation on the SOPs as well. Even though the SOPs is set by MKN, but because there are different interpretations, so the officers or the authorities will take charge, and because they will be visiting all of these different operators just to make sure that they follow the SOP. So for us, our role is basically to help our operators to understand whether they are able to follow the SOPs, and usually what we'll be telling them is it's still best for them to call their local authorities to see if the local authorities is following exactly what the MKN is saying, or they have their own interpretation which they will have to follow.
Yeah. This is, to be honest, this is actually where I first start to experience this difference between the federal government's mandate and then the state government's mandate as well. It's like we learn it in history books, right? But we never actually see it being implemented, where the federal government will give a certain guideline or a certain law, right? But it's up to the state government if they want to implement it or not.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, we have to look at two layers here, right? The federal side and then the state side. So which side is stricter? Which side is more lenient? Which side says yes? Which side says no?
Exactly. Yeah. So we have been trying to help them, help these vendors.
But it's nice what you guys are doing. You guys are actually helping your operators also to see where to kind of roughly gauge and see where they are, what they can do, what they cannot do, and it's kind of like a value added thing, which is good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So at this point now, most of your operators are already up and running, right?
Yeah. As of last week, the latest SOP allows football. Football was the last to allow to operate because it's a lot of physical stuff happening in the sports, the nature of the sports itself. So as of last week, finally, all of the operators are up and running right now. Yeah.
I remember I read somewhere they say that you can play football, but you cannot physically tackle the person, so no contact.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but it's so hard. But it's so hard to enforce, right? I mean, when someone gets into the game, they just do what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you had your first Clubhouse talk last week, right? Which I
Yes.
missed. I'm sorry about that because I so happened to have a dinner, quite an
Mm,
important dinner with family
mm,
last Saturday, and
mm.
I couldn't make it. So, how was that?
Ah, I would say it's a learning experience. We were really nervous about it. Our whole team was like preparing for it. Like we have someone to help us in moderator seat. I was the host, and then we invited a lot of these operators of different sports and fitness centers to participate. Although the show up, I think because it's a niche, very niche topic, so I try not to pay too much attention on the attendance. We have a very small group of 20 people showing up that
Mm,
day. So it is a very close conversation that happens, and it basically helps us to understand like what are the actual struggles by operators of different sports, because certain sports are luckier than the others. For instance, let's say archery range. Archery is a individual sports and people just train shooting on the target, right? So
mm,
those are the sports that are least affected during the pandemic. Even, but of course, all of the sports operators have to go down to 100% lockdown during MCO. And then as they are slowly opening, certain sports opens earlier, while the other sports have to suffer for a little bit
mm,
longer, right?
okay.
Over the course of this clubhouse, the most memorable moments was actually the one of the gym operator.
Mm-hmm,
Uh, he actually owns at least 12 different outlets across
mm-hmm,
East Malaysia, and he was at the dark side of he was like in debt, and then he
mm-hmm.
was suffering, and then he even openly shared to us that he was even at a certain constant of like trying to, go down to the wrong path and trying to
Okay.
commit suicide and stuff like that. So we
Okay.
know
Wow.
that the struggle is real, it's really
Yeah.
real, and
Yeah.
people have been suffering, especially in
Yeah.
sports scene, sports and events, especially. So it is an eye-opening experience, and yeah, we were happy to have all of these operators to come together, share their struggle, and share, even motivate each other on how
Mm.
to survive through this pandemic. Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a it like on the first run. I think it's very good of that person to
Mhm.
openly feel like share his vulnerability.
Yes.
It's something that we all go through,
Mm-mm.
especially in certain industries that are more susceptible.
Mm-mm.
But it always feels as if we are not allowed to talk about it
Mm-mm.
because, oh, we have to man up, oh, we have to, don't be a baby, that kind of stuff. But the struggle is real, right? And it gets quite dangerous, especially when you're the only one there and no one else is going through it. But with you feel like you're alone, and then like the guy says, like eventually you spiral down into the
Yeah.
wrong path and think about
Yeah.
wrong things.
Yeah.
And I think sharing it out helps share the burden a bit, lah.
Definitely, it
Yeah.
shows that the relevance of like how, especially when it comes to, we have heard it a lot of times, like entrepreneurship, it can be a lonely journey,
Yeah.
and especially in this point of time, it's really important that the community comes along together and
Mm.
really figure things out together, and try to like keep each other in check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's nice.
Mhm.
Do you see doing this? Do you see yourselves, you guys doing this more often? The
Yes,
clubhouse.
definitely. We try to make it like a bi-weekly thing. right now. So after the first one, we try to see if there's an adjustment required, and then see who are our main target community that we wish to get involved in, especially when it comes to the listener point of view, and also the guest speakers, and who do we want to we're still working on it, trying to find the momentum on.
I like what you guys are doing with Clubhouse, like experimenting on this kind of content. It's nice because it's trendy. Clubhouse is a new thing right now, but there are a few downsides that I see lah. Number one is that Clubhouse is only iOS available. It's only available on iPhones right now, which kind of limits the majority of Malaysians, because there are a lot more Malaysians on Android than there are on iPhones. And second thing is that it feels like it's so fleeting, right? It comes and it goes just like that. There is no reshareability. Maybe let's say if you record it and then you repost it somewhere and then use it again, then there is more other use for your content. But at that point, it feels like, it's just kind of like those radio show when it comes and it goes and that's it. If you don't catch it right time, you don't catch it, right?
Yeah, I do agree, because one of our biggest struggle when you're trying to invite the guest speakers and also people to come in as a listener, because in the nature of our business, we do have a huge pool of supply of these sports operators of different types of sports and fitness centers, but a lot of them turn out don't have any iOS devices. So it kind of sad to see, like, we wanted to get them involved, but at the same time we were thinking about like recording this, at least it is shareable, right? But then again, I guess it is a beauty and the good and bad side of Clubhouse is that because it's not people don't encourage to record the entire session, so people don't feel that much of a burden,
that's true as well.
So they are more open in sharing, but at the same time, the limitation comes in where people feel left out. And I think I remember reading it somewhere that certain developers are saying actually it's not that tough to create a Android version, but for some reason they're not doing it. So
you know what's gonna happen? Okay, Twitter is building their version of Clubhouse that it's called Spaces, and Facebook is also building their own version of Clubhouse. So from this, right, what you can do is, I can say that it's good that you're using Clubhouse right now because it's the thing right now, right? But what you are gaining isn't exactly the presence in Clubhouse, but it is the ability, number one, to fine tune the format that you want, right? And then the people who you usually hang out with during your Clubhouse session, who you always bring in to talk about stuff. So you have the pool of people, you have the format. And then when the platform changes, you just shift over to the platform that most people will use. Right. So in my case, I think the best bet right now is Facebook's version, because everybody's on Facebook. Everybody knows everybody on Facebook. Even if we personally may or may not like Facebook, at the end of the day, we rely on Facebook for a lot of things. That's the reality of it, right? So then once, let's say, Facebook comes out, it's available on both iOS and Android right off the bat, everybody can use it. Then you can just move we stopped using Clubhouse, we are on Facebook right now. So that's that. Then, then it'll work. Yeah. And like you said, the ability to not record is actually good, because when people feel FOMO the first round, they will be more likely to join you the second round, which I personally felt it. So if when you guys do the second round, I will try my best to join. So I'm listening and see. I think it's very insightful to be able to hear all these things from industry leaders or people who are in your industry.
Yeah. So that's one interesting part that we have been doing, basically for the whole.
So let's say you did say that during the MCO, because I feel as if businesses now will have to adjust post MCO, post pandemic. They will have to change the way they do things, like not put all their eggs in one basket kind of mentality. That you say that some sports were able to reopen faster than some other sports. Like for example, archery versus football, the first and the last one. Do you think that sports centers will eventually try to add in a more variety into into the facilities of different
think,
sports? Like at least they have a few that is operating first.
I see. I highly doubt that because, first of all, I guess the whole world is not expecting to have another kind of pandemic of a new kind of virus again, which touch wood, hopefully nothing
Okay.
new is
Crossing
happening
this.
again. Yeah. uh, but we do see the change in terms of the methods that they carry out their operation. So since now that a lot of our operators, previously people have been taking for granted on the hygiene, on how the crowd control and everything. But right now, since leveraging on the pandemic, I think most complexes are forced to be more systematic in a sense. And that's one of the reasons where we are relevant to a lot of these operators. And we are a birth product of the pandemic, I would say, AFA. And right now, what we have been doing, previously we were really aggressive in trying to get into more vendors. Right now, we are also we're still trying to increase the vendors count, but at the same time, we are trying to help these vendors to get their users on board to start booking online. At least they're able to keep track on to help the vendors in keeping track on like how many people have during the session in a typical day, and also to have these people or their customers database recorded in their system. So it's like it helps them to keep track of their customers in that sense. Like in case if there's anything like because we have encountered a few situations where there are certain customers that had the virus and they have to track back, and with our system they're able to effectively know which customers actually were there during the session, and we just need to call them up and see if they are okay or not, and if they feel anything, right? So these are the things that benefited the vendors, and they do see the benefits of having a proper system recording in terms of the way the methods are carried out in terms of their operation.
So in essence, what we see, which I totally agree as well, because it really forces everyone to create systems. Like before, a lot of businesses that we do, a lot of industries, we are kind of very, very, we just wing it, right? If it happens, it happens. What we have, we have. What we don't have, we don't have. But because of all this, because of this COVID and this pandemic, we're forced to create systems. And I think once the system is implemented, it really makes running business a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. It moves faster. It's just a matter of taking the first step. And previously they didn't want to do it. Now they're forced to do it. So they do it, and then they maybe a few months down the road or something, they will see the business starts to thrive because of this improvement in the systems.
Agree. That's what we are seeing at the moment also, because like I do believe that the changes that was forced in a way to us, it's actually helping us to be better even after all of this is over. Yeah, because the situation helps us to capture some kind of like a perspective, and it shows us what we previously have failed to see as an operator, right?
Yeah.
On the bright side, I think it leads us to be exactly where we need to be lah.
Yeah, true. And I think a lot of businesses like yourselves kind of like can see the potential in what is going on and what's going on now, and be able to take advantage of it and push yourselves harder to be relevant in times like this.
Yeah.
I also see that I think you were recceing a new sports center, was it?
Yes, a few of them actually. A few of them. One thing very interesting is that we are looking into a really big facility that is like a stadium, and it comes along with a couple of very new a couple of sports, and it's a new setup. And because it's currently owned by DBKL Kuala Lumpur, and they are actually looking to commercialize it, and we are in a place where we might be the potential operator to use our system and to operate it. Yeah, it is very exciting project.
So you guys will be essentially the management team. within this stadium and everything. What kind of
Yeah.
sports do they provide?
Nice. Nice question. So they have a swimming pool. They have an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a diving
Wow.
center, and they have badminton courts, futsal courts, football pitch,
Yeah.
and squash is there as well. And yeah, that's basically it. It's a big place.
Wow. Okay. Imagine this, right?
Mm-mm.
If let's say you manage to secure your position as the operator,
Mm-mm.
your management team and also the system that you use for, let's say, a few DBKL stadiums, there are a lot of all these community stadiums all around everywhere.
Yes.
And imagine if somewhere down the road you're able to, because you already do this for DBKL, right? And it's
Mm-mm.
easier for you to pitch over and say, hey, go to maybe Kelana Jaya Stadium or some other stadium and
Mm-mm.
say, hey, we are doing this for DBKL. This is what's happening.
Mm-mm.
We want to pitch for yours as well. So it
Yep.
helps all your customers come in easier. Everything is oiled up. Everything is done, properly. We can increase the,
Mm-mm.
whatever lah, all these kind of things. And it'll be
Yeah.
quite brilliant.
It is a good starting point to help us to build up a portfolio and a proof of concept that
Yeah.
our system is capable in managing things or facilities at such a scale. Yeah, so we are very excited in this opportunity. But it seems like it was so nerve-wracking, you know.
Yeah. Wanna share why would it be
No.
no, why is
Because
it
I guess
nerve-wracking?
because it put us in a situation where people will be keeping their eyes into paying a lot of attention on how we do things and how we facilitate it out, how we carry out the operations in a way. And yeah, a lot of stress on us because we are nobody at the moment, and we try to prove we are a company that just is there at the right time, but we are still trying to prove ourselves worthy to the people. And I guess that's something like we are more towards the excitement rather than nervous. But yeah, it's still to have a certain level of stress.
Yeah. No, I think this is amazing. So what I'm hearing is maybe a little bit of what is this called? A little bit of imposter syndrome. Like you feel as if you're not, just like, I don't know if we are the ones, but it suddenly fall into your
Exactly.
lap and you don't know if you're ready for it. And the other one is you're afraid because you suddenly feel that you are completely transparent. Everybody's looking at you, and you're no longer the underdog hiding in a corner and looking at the main ones and disrupting the main ones. You potentially will become one of the main ones, and people are looking at you instead now.
Hopefully.
Did you have to adjust a lot of your systems and the way it works for let's say DBKL?
For those kind of because our app is mainly for venue rental, there's a difference between what we are offering compared to a lot of like entrance fee or ticket selling kind of module for a lot of businesses. So we are different from ticket selling and entrance or like membership management software. So what we are is mainly on the venue rental aspect, meaning like you just rent a space for X amount of time,
Yeah.
and that's basically it, right? So in the sense, in a situation or in a case for DBKL, fortunately, a lot of their venues, all the sports I mentioned earlier, is mainly they're renting it for on a venue per hour basis.
Yes. Okay.
So except for the swimming pool and the diving section, which that one we might not be able to manage it. So what we are doing is basically we are looking into potentially subbing it out to a more experienced operator in terms of the pool side. But the rest of the sports is basically pretty manageable for our app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Okay. As far as I know, the swimming pools, you buy a ticket, you go in there for what, 3 hours, then you come out? Is it something
Yeah.
like that? Is it the same?
Yes. Yeah. Basically, that's it. So
Mm-hmm.
because this kind of principle, this kind of we call it like a logic, in terms of how poll ticket entrance fee works is very different from the nature of how our app was set up. So our app
Okay.
right now we are setting up like if a user is looking for a fixed, let's say they are looking for a fixed venue for a fixed number of hours, and then this venue, let's say if let's talk about badminton court, we have like 10 badminton courts, and then this 10 badminton courts I'm looking for just one court, and I need it for 2 hours, right, from 8 to 10. So that one is doable. But in terms of pool, it's a little bit different because they don't limit the number of people in the pool.
Yes.
Maybe maybe they have, but they won't be very specifically tracing like this customer came in at what time and then what time he needs to leave, right? This kind of stuff is not trackable in a pool
Okay.
concept, right? So that one, in that case, it's something that is not off what the nature of our app was set.
Okay. Okay. So essentially, let's say what's going to happen is, well, which is good as well because you work with some guys who are good at that. Then you can probably reverse engineer that method, and then you
Potentially,
implement it.
yes.
Yeah, you implement it into your app, and then say, boom, now we handle swimming pool as well.
Yes. We are looking into that. We are trying to learn the logic behind like how people usually manages a pool. Then hopefully in a way we are able to incorporate this kind of a module in the future, which is something similar to like a theme park entrance fee. But imagine you digitize the whole concept, right? So next time you just enter a theme park with just your phone. Maybe there's a QR code or something they just scan at the entrance, and then it just allows you to access, right? So we are looking into potentially something along the line in the future, but it requires a lot of further study and
Yeah, I guess that's going to open you up to a lot of potential industries and customers as well. Really, once let's say you set that up, and theme park, dude, that's that's something brilliant. Wow, your past month has been quite eventful, huh?
Mostly it's just building up thought processes, but
Yeah. It's good. It's good. Wow, it's amazing to be able to hear that from you. Yes, I am looking forward to attending one of your Clubhouse sessions.
I'll keep
Hopefully
you
the next one.
updated.
Yes, definitely. I think maybe I guess you can more aggressively post the events out to people. That'll help, I guess, because um, it's all about letting people know beforehand, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Then brilliant. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to update for?
I guess that's it for this month. Hopefully there's something more interesting next month, especially if we got the place or not,
Yeah, I was so interested because I saw your story. I was like, hey, you're looking for a new place, then I really wanted to know about this, like, what's the backstory about, what's the
Yeah. We'll hopefully disclose you more details next month.
Yeah, awesome,
Looking forward
amazing.
for that.
Wow, I'm very amazed by the traction that you guys are doing, and what are you guys doing for the past month. Thanks a lot for sharing this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Raymond. Thanks so much for also dropping by and just chatting for about half an hour or so.
Pleasure.
Right. So before we leave, maybe you can let the listeners know about where to find you, and where to interact with you, how to buy from you or subscribe to whatever.
All right. For those who are interested, can always find us in our social media. We are available in Facebook, Instagram, and most importantly, if you are Android or iOS user, you can always download our app. It's called AFA. You can just look it up, or you can just log onto our website to download it, which is at www.athletefораthletes.com. Yeah.
Okay, so it's athletes for athletes, and if you're looking at the apps, look for the dark red icon.
Yep.
With kind of like two A's.
Yeah, like
each
this.
other.
This one.
Like that one.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so brilliant. Okay, guys. Next week we will catch up again with Diana from Swag Sarang Holidays. the company that provides a wow factor and honest and halal travel solutions. That's all for this week's Building a Business podcast. Our podcast is available on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and Spotify. We post full videos on YouTube and clips on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's all for Building a Business podcast with AFA, episode 2. We'll see you next week. And Raymond, I will see you next month.
Yep, see you.